California big one earthquake. Would this cause a tsunami? Well, all these questions are being asked because of the fact that we still have an earthquake swarm every single day in the Kosovo volcanic field, where the 6.2 and the 7.1 major earthquakes hit just northeast of Los Angeles at the Garth Lock fault, which is perpendicular to the San Andreas, as we can see here. We've pinned Ridgecrest there. This happens to be an image from Hawaii, but still, things like that can be elevated and escalating. Now, this is the very unknown fault that the geologists have yet to refer to, the Walker Lane fault, as you can see here, that ridge parallel to the east of the San Andreas, heading northwest. It goes through the Kosovo volcanic field, UBB craters, Long Valley caldera, Lassen Peak, Mount Shasta, Medicine Lake, and it is making itself, it's making its way north, pressuring north on the Cascadia Arc. This is how you can see it right there. Long Valley, Lassen Creek, Mount Shasta, all those very high threat volcanoes are sitting in that fault area, the Walker Lane faults. It's not one fault, it's a series of faults, and we have related them to the major quakes that we've had off Vancouver Island. That's on a fault that goes through Seattle, in the Cascadian subduction zone area, the Cascadia Arc, and that pushes very quickly. They're somehow connected and related with each other with the Walker Lane fault that gave these massive 7.1 magnitude on July 5th and the 6.4 the day before on July 4th. Now, people are asking what's going to happen with the San Andreas. The geologists have warned us, especially Dr. Lucy Jones, that these quakes have not released the energy that's penned up at the San Andreas fault that is supposedly going to give us the big one. And that's still a different story altogether that has not been affected by the quakes in Southern California at Ridgecrest. And people are asking the other major question, what about the big one and the any impending tsunamis that can go with it? Because when you have a major quake that close to the coast, usually you have tsunamis associated with them. Now, would California big earthquake, the big one, cause a tsunami? Well, the earthquake activity has been rising in recent months, and it really is at a 1,500 quakes per day in the Kosovo volcanic field area. And the fears of the imminent incoming big one is priority in people's minds. Residents in California were surprised, of course, by the 6.4 magnitude on July 4th in the morning at Ridgecrest. An expert said that the earthquake was felt from Las Vegas to Orange County, and it was the largest that the city saw in 2 decades. That activity ruptured the ground around Ridgecrest, and we were even given images of the crack in the area. And of course, new earth changes. Highways had buckled down and had been split. Now, earthquakes are the result of interactions between continental plates, which make up the Earth's crust, and the boundary line separating one or more plates is the fault line. And as the plates move around, they grind one with the other and cause earthquakes. And the shocks caused by this movement, the earthquakes, are where the two plates in California, in this instance, have the potential to cause major catastrophic seismic activity. The San Andreas Fault in California is a point where the Pacific and the continental plates, the North American continental plates meet, and it runs through the state from Hollister to the Santa Cruz Mountains. And what about now the big one, causing a tsunami? Well, according to the scientists, the geologists, the pressure has been building at San Andreas since about 2006, and they say that it's overdue to release a potentially devastating earthquake. Some, for example, like the City College professor Dr. Michio Kaku, believes that within the next 30 years we have a 99% chance that the big one will occur. Now, the prospective earthquake is predicted to approach magnitude 7 or higher, causing, of course, devastation, and large swaths of California would be affected with this. But experts say that an earthquake at this location, meaning the San Andreas, would not be able to cause a tsunami. Professor of Geophysics and Climate Hazards of University College in London, Bill McGuire, said the fault is too far inland to create a tsunami. Well, I don't see that it's too far inland. It's right on the coast, but anyway, I'm just quoting what he's saying. He said tsunamis are only caused by big submarine earthquakes. Tsunamis are caused by big submarine earthquakes. California's San Andreas and associated faults are located on land. Also, the San Andreas is a horizontally rather than vertically moving fault, and such faults are not good tsunami generators, he explains. Now, Professor Aguirre said there is another fault in the area with the potential to generate a very dangerous tsunami. He said the real threat of a major tsunami in the western U.S. is from the submarine Cascadia Subduction Zone Fault, which runs from British Columbia, meaning, of course, the area of the Vancouver Island area, where we had the 6.2 that triggered the 6.4 in California. So the Cascadia Subduction Zone Fault running from British Columbia all the way down the coast to Northern California. That's the Cascadia arc that we saw. Unlike some other plate boundaries, the Cascadia zone is quiet, and the last earthquake took place in that area in 1700. Now, we referred to this today a couple of times. That's what gave the ghost tsunami that arrived in Japan, and they didn't know where it came from, but the geologists found sediment in the off the coast of California and Oregon, and they found that this must have been what took place 300 years ago and caused a tsunami. And they have found that these major earthquakes and tsunamis don't take place every 500 years. They actually take place every 300 years. And that's why they're warning people that it's time. Now, from 1700, we're already at 2019. So we're well aware that we're over 300 year time limit. We're 320 years, just about. And that's why they're saying that we're overdue for a major earthquake like that. During that time, the activity in the area generated a megathrust earthquake. They say that it had a magnitude of anywhere from 8.7 to 9.2, so you can understand how huge it was. And by the way, the earthquakes in the Three Lakes Monroe area, northeast of Seattle, were a thrust earthquake in a fault that had no name fault, because there are so many faults there. This particular one had no name, according to the geologist. You can see the video just before this one. So it will not create, the San Andreas will not create a tsunami. The tsunami will be created by the submarine Cascadia Subduction Zone Fault, running from British Columbia all the way down to Northern California. That is what would generate a tsunami, and the earthquake in that area is due just about now, 300 years, every 300 years, they say. I'll leave links below for you for this. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.